guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, the Ask SSM video series, I got an email from a guy. He's a young guy, mid-20s, and he's asking for my advice on how to start investing. I've been working for a few years, and he's paid off his debts and all that, and now he's got extra money, and now he wants to get things rolling in that department, but isn't quite sure how to get things started. And I'm doing this one because that'll be a very good one for you young guys in particular who are just starting out, and you got some money, and now you want to start investing and building wealth, but you have no idea where to begin. So I thought this would be a good one to cover. So real quick, his email, he says, "Hey SSM, thanks for all your videos trying to help us guys out. I have a question about investing. I'm 26 years old and I have been working at my job for 3 years. I have no debt as I have followed your advice and have paid off my credit cards and I'm living beneath my means." Good, bro. "I also have an emergency fund with 3 months worth living expenses as you recommended. I'm now ready to start investing, but I'm not quite sure how to get started. Any tips would be appreciated. Thanks, Mike." Okay, bro. So before I get into this, I just want to say this, now make this a little disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. This is purely entertainment, and I'm simply going to share with what I would do in this situation. You guys get my point. Wink, wink, nod, nod. And I'd recommend any of you guys that are about to start investing or make changes to your investments or whatever it is in terms of finances, certainly consult a professional that does this for a living, but I will share what I would do in the situation because a lot of you guys value my opinion. So for this guy, first off, again, good job that you have paid off your credit card debt because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put money aside to invest when you're paying interest to the credit card companies based on debts you have in your credit card. So good for this guy, and for any of you guys out there have extra money, pay off those credit cards. You don't need to pay the American Express and Chase and a Capital One, Discover, whatever you want to call it. You know, that's great if you're a stockholder to those companies, but for everybody else, you don't want them to get rich off you paying interest. So pay off those credit cards first, and also good job this guy's an emergency fund. I always recommend that, guys, because shit happens. You never know what's going to happen, so you want to make sure you got money set aside in case, hey, you lose your job. You got some money to take care of the bills for a few months. You've got a major emergency, like your car breaks down, you need to fix something, your dog or cat gets sick, something comes out of nowhere because guess what, guys, it always does. And you got 3 months, good. Now strive to eventually have 6 months. But getting to the point about investing. So you don't mention what you do, and you don't mention if your job offers a 401k plan. For you guys that have jobs and your employer offers a 401k plan and they offer matching, I would highly recommend you take them up on that, because what they do is if you put a certain amount of your paycheck into the 401k plan through your employer, oftentimes in varying degrees they will match a certain amount of what you put in. So it's free money. So let's just say, for argument's sake, and I'm just picking a number, if they have a deal where you put in, let's just say you make, I'm going to make it real easy, real simple. Let's just say somebody makes $100 grand a year and they put $5,000 of their dollars into that and they'll match 80% of what you put in. Then that's $4,000 that they'll put in, free money. So you're crazy not to take it. So if your employer offers it, take that. Okay, start building up for your retirement. And then in that 401k, there'll be options as to where you can put your money, and you can determine your risk level. You know, the younger you are, the more risk you can take, because you can't touch this stuff for decades. Okay, and there's obviously penalties if you don't. But if it's a Roth 401k plan, which the employer will offer, whatever you take out is at whatever the wealth you build in there from where you invest it will be tax-free when you get out. However, what you put in will be after you pay income taxes. But anyhow, I would take that option because you get the extra money from the employer. It's a no-brainer. However, if your employer does not offer you a 401k plan and you got to do it on your own, I'd recommend, again, this is what I would do, a Roth Ira. And again, this is the money you have after you pay your income taxes. You can put into that, and whatever you make out of that in the decades to come when you take it out when you retire, all that money you make, the profits from investing in whatever you invest in, will be tax-free. This is a good way to go. This is the way I go, and I think it's the best way, okay? Again, this is what I would do. So if you are truly getting started, you don't know where to go, there's some companies that you can open up this account with, good ones out there, like Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, Edward Jones. Everyone's a little different, so I'd research them. I personally have accounts both through Fidelity and Vanguard. Okay, I've had Vanguard forever since I was like 21, and Fidelity I started a couple of years ago, and I don't put all my eggs in one basket, and I have them for different reasons. Okay, and they're both great. I prefer Fidelity more, but that's just me. And so you can open up a Roth IRA through one of those companies, and simply you just create an account there. And then what you can do is, once you create the account, because you got to enter your social security number and all these other things, you'll then be able to attach your bank account to that account, whether Fidelity or Vanguard, and you'll be able to transfer the money from your bank account to the Fidelity or Vanguard account to open your Roth IRA. Okay, and typically what they do is they'll send 2 little deposits into your bank account, and you simply have to wait a couple days, and you'll verify the amounts, and then it'll be attached, and you can simply wire it over. And then you can then open up that Roth IRA, and you can put the money in wherever you want to in there. And so every year there's a certain amount you can put in legally every year, and that's it. And I would say beyond that point, if you still want to invest, you could also, with it, say it was Fidelity or Vanguard, you could open up a brokerage account, which you can then choose to buy individual stocks. You can buy various funds. Okay, and there's all sorts of great funds out there. But for a beginner, for a guy that doesn't know a whole lot about investing, and honestly doesn't really want to spend all his time researching, I'd recommend for a young guy, again, this is what I would do, a very well diversified index fund. Okay, and that way then, and one of the best ones and most respected ones is the S&P 500, because that one is 500 companies and it's all spread out, and that way you don't have all your money in one basket, not all your in terms of one company or one sector. It's across the board of all sectors: energy, retail, technology, finance. You get the point. Okay, and the top 10 holdings of the S&P 500 are all the big boys, the American companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, I believe Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan Chase. You recognize all these names, the big boys. And the rest are all different companies I'm sure you definitely know about. And that way it's pretty diversified, and it's a good way to go. And if you study the history of it, you're going to have some down years, but generally over time you're going to do well. And I think it averages generally 8 to 10% a year over the long term. Okay, if you do your math, that's pretty good. Some years will be bigger than others. Some years will be down years, and you go from there. So I'd recommend start with the Roth IRA and put it in for your retirement. And remember, this is money you can't touch for decades. So the younger you are, the more risk you can take. So if you're in your 20s and it's going to be decades before you can touch it, you can obviously have more aggressive types of investing. And it doesn't have to be the S&P 500. It could be all sorts of different funds. Just do your homework, ask people that are knowledgeable about this thing, and they can point you in the right direction. But obviously, the older you get, people are a little more conservative because they know they're going to be taking that money out soon. But right now, you're not taking it out into your mid to late 60s. However, when you get older, if you're in your 20s now, it could be in your 70s at that point. They could change things because people are getting older. Now, with regards to investing, I might as well mention this since we're talking about it. There's 3 very important things to remember here, and I've been told this since I started when I was 21 from my dad, who's a sharp guy, as well as people I know that are in that industry, is that there's 3 very important things. Number 1, you always have to think long term. Okay. A lot of people that get the idea that, oh, I'm gonna be a day trader and buy and sell real quick. Unless they're extremely lucky or have privy to certain information, and usually that's kind of considered insider trading, it doesn't work out too well. But people that hold and invest for the long term work the best. 2, being well diversified. Okay? Don't have all your money in one basket. That's one of the most foolish things you can do. Somebody puts all their money in one company. Now, sure, somebody can say, well, SSM, if you put your money in Apple, then you've been kicking butt all these years. Well, that's a very fortunate example. That there are exceptions, but generally speaking, their companies are once the top leaders in their industries that were very well respected in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, top holdings of the S&P 500 that are shit companies now. Okay, General Electric, and it's not a bad company. It used to be one of the top holdings of the S&P 500 20 years ago in the Dow. Not anymore. They got problems now. Okay. Sears. I'm sure you heard of that store. That used to be a big, giant, well-respected company. Down the hill. Kodak, another Dow company years ago. Again, so it's not wise to have all your money in one basket. Now, or in one sector. But if you're diversified, that way if one company goes under, doesn't really matter as much because you are invested, like the S&P 500, in lots of companies. Or if one sector takes a hit, like right now, presently the tech sector is getting hit because of rising interest rates or the soon-to-be rising interest rates. You know, if you're in other areas, it softens the blow a little bit. Another thing is to also be, think long term, because over time things will rise. Also, I said be diversified, but also understand you can't time the market. A lot of people think I'll just wait around to get to the right moment. All sorts of things come out of nowhere to impact the market. And so I've been advised a long time ago, you keep, unless it's obvious something's going to go down, you pretty much, whether the market's up 20% for the year or down 20% for the year, you keep putting in little money every month and so forth and watching it grow. Now, during times where there's a lot of volatility like right now, or during bear markets, those are great times to put money in great companies for the long term. You may not make much money in the beginning, but over time, that's a great time to put in for the really best companies. So, but for, again, people that are just getting started, in my opinion, what I would do, what I know about, is simply putting in diversified funds. Okay, very well diversified, conservative, respectable ones. And then if you want to venture out to be more aggressive funds, go for it. It all depends on your level of risk, how much you can handle. Because some people can't take it. Some people cannot take risk. Other people, they don't care about it. They understand the long game, and that's how it works, and they're fine with it. And also, if you want to go so far as owning individual companies. But I've warned you about the companies like Kodak and Sears and other companies that were once titans that have tanked. So you got to be very careful with that. But it can be a lot of fun owning individual companies. I own 10 different individual companies, very diverse, and they're the best of the best. Some of the companies I own are like Apple, Amazon, Coca-Cola, McDonald's. So you can see I got the tech companies and I got the conservative companies like Coke and McDonald's. I'm very diversified. That's just me. Okay? And you just got to think long term. And so you do these things, that's the way to go. And if you then want to educate yourself and read everything you can, which I recommend you do, that'll make it much more enjoyable. And also, times like this right now, where there's a lot of market volatility, you got to be able to handle that. Okay? A lot of people can't. But if you recognize that you're not going to touch this money for decades, then the volatility, that's an opportunity to buy good companies cheap. That's the way you got to look at it. So that's what I recommend you do. If your employer offers a 401k, take that. If they do matching, definitely take that. But again, this is after you've paid off your credit cards and everything. And then if they don't do that, you can open a Roth IRA through companies like Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, Edward Jones. But I know Vanguard and I know Fidelity. I like them very much. And then beyond that, if you want to start contributing through a brokerage account into different funds, you can shop around. And a lot of these funds will show you like what companies they hold or their top holdings and all that. And these will be ones you'll recognize, like the Apples, the Microsofts, the Googles, amongst other companies that are not tech related. And you can go from there and do your homework and talk to people that have experience. The more people you talk to and take advice from, that will help you out in your decision making. And that way then, I'd recommend every month, the extra money you have, put in those things. Your Roth, as well, or whatever retirement you take, as well as the brokerage account, putting in the funds. And if you want to venture out in other areas, that's fine too. Some people, they obviously invest in crypto. Some people put money aside after they have so much money in, say, various funds. They may think they want to buy an extra house to rent that out. That's real estate investing. There's other things. So there's a lot of options there. But the earlier you start, the better it is, because it can grow over time. That's the best way to go about it. And believe me, over the years, it will really add up. And it'll become a game to you, because you can say, well, if I save, if I cut back on my spending and here, that's extra money I had that I can put away into this fund or that fund, or put in that individual company like Apple or whatever, or Microsoft, and watch it grow over time. And it's a lot of fun, but you just got to think long term. You got to be diversified and just have a strong stomach for it, and understand you can't time the market. Anybody thinks they can time the market, good luck. You may be lucky on occasion, but it doesn't always work that way. So I hope this is helpful. I think I definitely covered all bases. If I left anything out, you guys can certainly let me know in the comment section, as well as let this guy know. And for any other you young guys are just starting out, it's not that hard. It's made to be very easy nowadays. So just do your homework, have some fun with it, and go for that. I wish you luck. And again, talk to a professional before you get things rolling. This is, of course, entertainment. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, also, if you have any questions you'd like to ask me for this Ask SSM series, email it to me just in the title Ask SSM. And if it's a good one, I will do it. Some videos will be just one question like this one here, or some videos are going to be multiple questions that I go over. And also, guys, before I forget, be sure to check me out if you're on Instagram or Locals. I'm making a big push this year in those two areas there, and so far so good. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.